Hello, and welcome to the second episode of the Just a Little Shady podcast. I'm your host, Hailie Jade, here with my co-host,
Brittany.
We are so excited to get into this second episode. And for those of you watching, you probably noticed we've got a little bit of a different setup today. We have computers with us because you guys actually submitted quite a good amount of shady stories, and we're so excited to share a few of them at the end. So we have our laptops so we can read those, and stay tuned so you can hear some of those at the end. But until then, we want to start off with a little weekly recap. Obviously, last week we launched our first episode, which was super fun and a little hectic. But after we finished recording, we wanted to hurry up and look through some old pictures to go along with the stories that we were talking about and remembering. But we started remembering so much more as we were going through the old pictures. It was re-talking about everything all over again. And one of the funny things that I actually remembered that I was telling Brittany about, so last episode we were talking about going to the Pistons games a lot as kids. And I remembered that a few months ago, my dad brought up to me that we went to the Pistons game with just me and him and sat like on the court, which I did not remember. And he's like, yeah, I felt so bad because apparently this is the story. So we're sitting on the court, and when you're down there, there's a lot of people around and people were trying to take pictures, but we had just gotten food and just sat down. So my dad was like, look down until I tell you to look back up until they stop taking pictures. So, back then, strict rule follower. So I have my hot dog in my lap. I'm just staring at my hot dog. And he forgets to tell me when it's okay to look up. So I stayed looking at my hot dog in my lap. He got distracted by the game and then finally looked over and realized, oh my God, I forgot to tell you could look up.
You missed half the game.
Apparently. I didn't really remember this, but apparently for him, it's a vivid memory because he felt so bad about it.
Poor thing. He probably felt awful.
So yeah, that was one of the funny things that we were kind of talking about that we remembered going through the photos. And we also took some of those photos that we didn't use in our last episode and made a TikTok that was kind of funny.
It was hilarious. We were made for this trend. It's the my way or the highway trend.
So if you don't know what that is, basically it's us as adults in the beginning of the video, and the caption is when people think they can tell us no, and then you're supposed to put very dramatic pictures of you being a diva.
Which we had plenty of.
We had some hilarious ones. So if you don't follow us on the Just a Little Shady podcast TikTok, definitely go check it out. We were made for that trend.
It was incredible.
So we posted that, and then we also posted the Gentlemanions TikTok. So if you haven't seen that and you commented bananas and you wanted to see it,
we followed through.
We definitely, I think we killed it. We overdid it.
Did so well. We got our boyfriend suits. We went to the store, got way too many bananas. I think the workers there were probably a little concerned.
Oh, absolutely. They were suspicious.
It was a little odd to be buying 3 bunches of bananas. And then I was nervous going into the theater. One, because I didn't really want anyone to be like seeing us acting a fool.
But thankfully nobody was there.
It was a very light day at the movie theater.
Literally, like, no one was there.
And then we wanted to get a bucket of popcorn, but not the popcorn, just the bucket, so that way we could use it for our bananas. And I was so nervous that they were going to question us about why we needed this empty bucket.
Oh, I had a whole story ready to go.
Did you really? Because I didn't.
Just in case. Yeah, I was gonna say to them if they asked, oh, our friends got popcorn and we want to split it, so we need an empty bucket so we can split it. We're not sitting by each other. That was my plan. That's how scared I was of getting in trouble, that I was so ready with the story. I feel like that's believable too.
It's super believable.
Yeah.
Believable. Words.
Yeah, so definitely go see that. It was funny too because we on the spot, I don't know where I was coming up. It was mostly me just thinking of random stuff, but on the spot, I just kept being like, let's do this, let's do this. And
Yeah.
at one point in the video, we take the bananas and pretend that we are wiping our happy tears of how good the movie was away with the
movie
bananas.
was pretty good. I think it deserved the happy tears.
But it was really funny. So yeah, definitely go watch our TikTok if you haven't. And speaking of TikTok, this week, you know, Brittany and I spent a lot of time together after the launch or after the recording to get to the launch. And she's in the same house as me.
Yes, I was.
But decides to expedite a TikTok to me.
I feel as if this was necessary sometimes because I do spend a lot of time on TikTok and I send Hailie a lot of TikToks via DM.
Bro, sometimes I go in my TikTok messages and user blah, like 75 numbers because
I didn't know how to set up my own username on TikTok for a while, so I was just user many numbers for a while. But you knew it was me.
Oh, absolutely. Because you're the only person that I would go to messages and it would be like, click to see 93 messages to scroll me all the way back up.
Yeah. I mean, I really have nothing to say for myself. I was getting ready to have some kind of strong argument. I don't. I think they're all hilarious and all super watchable.
They are. And when I do get the time to binge watch them, I thoroughly am very thankful that
You're
you
welcome.
did that. Because a lot of times I think it would be videos that would be on my For You page anyway. I just don't have to do all that scrolling. You do it for me.
Yep, you're welcome. But in the cases where they are extra funny videos, I have to text them to you instead of DM. And I will tell you, I'm like, I will know if you watch the entirety of this video that happened before.
You expect a 5-paragraph response.
Yes. And I did that with this particular TikTok this past week, and I think it was worth it.
Yeah, it was.
Explain to the people what happened.
So if you guys haven't seen Vampire Diaries, it's a show with vampires, but I watched it twice through.
Twice?
Yeah.
I didn't know it was twice. I thought it was just once.
No, it was twice.
Okay.
But anyway, so I love the show. And there's been a lot of TikToks, I feel, in the last year of people acting like the main character.
Yeah, Elena.
Yeah, so the main character is this girl, and she's not a vampire or whatever, but it's basically about other vampires in her life, and she's always having like these existential crises, and being super dramatic, dropping to the floor, crying. So there's a lot of TikToks of people acting like her character, and I see those all the time, and they're funny, but they're not, I don't laugh out loud. I just smile. And this one starts off that way. It's like things that happen every episode of the Vampire Diaries. It starts off with the girl pretending she's Elena, the main character, being dramatic, crying. And so I'm like, okay, I take a sip of water. Then the next scene, she freaking runs across the TikTok screen, and I'm like, and I'm about to start laughing, and I'm like, oh my God, wait, this is about to be hilarious. Then the next scene is her pretending to be this other character, literally coming at the screen going, Rebecca.
You did that too good. That sounds exactly like the video.
And I kid you not, I ran to the sink to spit my water because it started going down the wrong pipe.
I did hear you.
So I think it was worth the expedition, but expedition.
Yeah. I don't know if that's the right word. Expedition isn't it's a journey.
Whatever. It was worth the quick journey. Expedited, whatever. it was worth it, but also I almost died. So yeah, I almost choked on my water. I did not expect it to be that funny, but it was really, really great.
Well, I have something else to say because I didn't realize that you watched Vampire Diaries twice. I watched Vampire Diaries, but not the last season.
Yeah, you never finished.
No, I didn't because I have a reason. I have my reasons. I have
Let's
a
hear it.
really, really hard time with goodbyes and apparently with closure as well when it comes to series because I don't like watching the last season or the last episode. So back when Hannah Montana was back on TV, I never watched the final episode because I didn't want to part ways with the characters. Similar to how like you were with not wanting to follow actors on social media because you don't want to break the third wall or fourth wall and you don't want to separate them.
They need to live in my head as the character.
Exactly. I feel that way with last episodes or last seasons because I don't want it to end. And if I don't watch the ending, then in my mind, it's still happening because I get very attached to the shows and movies I'm watching. I feel like they're my friends and it's the situations I'm going through. Maybe that's a me problem, but I did it with Hannah Montana and The Office. I never watched the last episode of that. The Wizards of Waverly Place. I never watched the movie, which spoilers, I know Alex Russo becomes the family wizard.
But don't you want to see it yourself?
No, I don't want to know how it happens. I don't want to see.
That is the total opposite of most people I know who are like obsessed with series.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people, I feel like, rewatch the last episode or last season of things multiple times.
No, not me.
Because they also don't want it to end, but so they just replay it. And
I do the
it.
opposite. I don't ever watch it. I don't expose myself to those kinds of situations. And I feel like there's got to be other people out here that do that. So if you do, let me know. Because I don't think it's weird. I don't want to be all alone in my not wanting closure with my episodes.
Yeah, we need to unpack that maybe later though. But also speaking of watching series, we just started the Victoria's Secret.
Oh yeah,
docuseries, which we had to watch it.
Yeah,
we just had to. It was one of those things we both knew because maybe some of you listeners can relate. The absolute chokehold that the bombshell bra had on our generation in high school was alarming. It was so bad, but it didn't start there.
No.
It started in elementary school.
At a young age with the matching tracksuits.
Yeah, it wasn't the bras back in the day. It was the matching with the dog.
Mm-hmm. Yes, the free dog that you would get with purchase. If you don't know what we're talking about, there were these mini collectible dogs. I will call them collectibles because I had...
Because you've collected them.
Yes, I had many, and I would line them up on my dresser, and I had favorites. It was a whole thing. There were seasonal dogs that would have Santa hats or whatever it might be.
That's how they got us.
They did. They were very gimmicky. They were so cute, and I had to have them all. I feel like in middle school, I would put them in my locker at the top of it when people would decorate their lockers back in the day. And they would put wallpaper on their lockers, and they still do this. I've seen it at Target where they have
just gonna say,
nice decorations.
You think people still decorate their lockers?
Yes, and they have like...
That actually makes me happy, though.
Yes, they have trendy... I mean, I don't know if people actually go through with it, but there's still like decorations that you can buy, and they are so much cuter. I was going through because I have really like the back to school section at Target. I thoroughly enjoyed buying school supplies back in the day. That goes back to you and I both being super into our grades. I was also super into pencils, pens.
Things school supplies.
All things school supplies were my jam. I loved them, and I would line up my little dogs. But the stuff they have now, insane.
Yeah, well, so it went from that, and then they literally, I feel like they transitioned with us, because as those went out of style, then the bras came in style, the bombshell bras. And if you don't know what those are, basically these bras, I mean, lift you to the gods. Like, there's no other way
of putting it.
There's no other way to say it.
Super accurate.
Just very much there.
Yep.
And everyone wanted them when we were in high school.
Yeah.
Everyone had them. And I saw that they were doing this show, this docuseries, and I was really hoping it was going to be like the Abercrombie docuseries.
Yes, where it's about the impact it had on
like the culture and
how influential the
Yeah.
brand was on consumers of the time.
Yeah. And I was just really hoping it would be clips of girls in like matching pink sweatsuits.
Yes,
And
very Y2K, very
Yeah.
fun. No, it's a
Yeah.
little bit more businessy, but we still have more episodes to go, so maybe it'll get into that.
yeah, I hope it does get into the little like
Trends.
I really want to see it. Yeah.
Me too.
But it's good. It's just very much more on the business side, the marketing side, whereas the Abercrombie one was just about the culture. But we had fun watching it, even though you didn't finish that either.
You know, nothing new there. I stay on brand, and
yeah, literally.
my bedtime is like 8:30, so I just needed to take a little bit of a nap. But it's a very good series so far.
Yeah, we'll check back in if we continue watching and finish it. But I think we covered what we really wanted to get into for this episode besides the shady stories. So let's get into like our first few shady stories. You guys actually submitted some really good ones. We had fun reading them, so please keep submitting them. We'll have the link to the Google form in the description in our first episode and this episode. It will be in the YouTube video description. So even if you're listening and you want to submit a thing, just go to our YouTube and it will be in that description. But let's get into this first story. It is a little bit on the longer side, so bear with us, but it is worth it. When we first heard this story, we literally couldn't stop looking at each other. We couldn't believe it.
I was in shock. My jaw was on the floor.
So here we go. At the time, when my boyfriend, now husband, first started dating, we had our first sleepover at his place. He had a bunch of friends over, and afterwards, when everyone left, we went up to get ready to settle down. I was watching TV in his room, and he went to go take a shower. Since I am a super detective, I took this time to go into his laptop, which he left on the floor between his bed and nightstands. I wanted to creep and see who this guy really was. I forgot how quickly guys shower, so as I'm sitting in his bed, creeping on his laptop, which I guessed the password to log in, I hear the shower turn off. I swear he showered for 5 minutes. I panicked, and instead of closing out and putting the laptop back, I thought the smart thing to do was to throw it in my overnight bag. He came back in, and we went to bed. My plan the next day was to wake up early or wait for him to do his morning routine and put it back. Well, that never happened. He was with me the whole time. So when I left, I ended up taking his laptop with me. Naturally, when I got home, I went back to detective work while figuring out how I was going to get this laptop back to him without him noticing. Later that day, he either called or texted me and asked if I had seen it, and I played it off like a champ. The next time I talked to him, he told me he went crazy, flipping his whole place trying to look for it, and thought that one of his friends from that night took it to mess with him. And again, I played it off like I had no idea what happened. A month later, we were with his sister, and she mentioned the laptop and asked if I had seen it, and I said nope. A few months after that, I had this thing sitting in my room casually. I was still living with my parents at the time, and he was coming over to spend the night and come over for the first time. As soon as I realized how close he was arriving and saw this thing was just sitting in my room, I grabbed it and ran into my mom's room frantically, telling her what happened and to help me hide it. I didn't know if he'd go through my room. My mom, being my number one supporter, takes it and hides it in her clothes in her closet since we knew he wouldn't come across it there. It sat there for years. I ended up buying him a new one because there was no way I could ever get it back into his house. I think I might have used a holiday as an excuse to get it. Everyone knew this thing was missing, and it would be brought up every so often. Years go by, and we move in together, and I helped him pack up to come with me. This was it. I could secretly put it into a box, and one day it would be discovered, just lost in the mix. But I never got the opportunity to do that. A few years ago, when I felt solid enough in our relationship and marriage, I confessed to what happened. He laughed and smiled and said, "I figured you had it," and I handed it over to him.
I have so much to say about this story because it's absolutely wild to me that one, she was able to guess his password. Two, what was going to happen if she didn't realize that that laptop was sitting in her room and he saw it in there? thank God that mom was a champ and let her hide it in there, because it's absolutely absurd.
The amount of time invested into this secret,
Time
and money, because she literally had to buy him the new laptop, is so wild to me. And can you imagine keeping a secret like that for that long?
No, I would have cracked by then.
I feel guilty if I forget to get Evan a coffee when I go get a coffee. There's no way. That haunts me for like a week. There is no way I could go years and years with this laptop sitting in a room knowing I had it, and he's over here flipping his house upside down looking for it. There's no way I could keep that secret. I would rather throw the laptop away than know it's in my house and he's looking for it.
Yeah, there's no way that I could have lived with that. It would just be sitting in the back of my mind all the time. And I wouldn't have been able to re-gift a new laptop to him.
Knowing you still had the other one.
Yes, I would have acted so weird. I would have been like,
yeah.
oh, here's your laptop. But like, there's no way I could have played it cool.
Or she should have just wiped his laptop and been like, here's a new laptop.
Oh my gosh, that would be amazing. I'm surprised she didn't.
But yeah, keeping that secret for that long. I mean, I guess it came out in the end, but also when she handed it to him at the end and he was like, I figured you had it.
Mm-hmm.
It's like one of those scenes from Euphoria. If you guys watch Euphoria, when they're in the hot tub and they have broken up and someone says, hey, did you guys break up or whatever?
Yeah.
And the one character says yes right away. And Alexa Demi, or Maddie, the character, she's like, I was going to say yes, but why did you say yes
so quickly?
Yeah. And I feel like that's the same thing. Like, obviously I had the laptop and I was going to tell you that, but why did you think I had it?
Yeah.
Like, why
what
would
made
you
you believe that I would have your laptop?
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah. I mean, it came out in the end.
Yeah. Secrets always come out. And that leads us into our second shady story. So it goes. I had a huge argument with my close friend and we ended up on not talking terms and despising each other. So when she went on holiday, I had sex with her boyfriend behind her back. Fast forward to yesterday, I was at an event with friends. There was about 50 to 60 people who all knew each other, including myself and friends. And by some coincidence, my ex-friend and her boyfriend turn up, and he already had told all of his friends that he had cheated, and they decided to go tell her that night. So she got so upset and went to fight me, and there was people holding her back so she couldn't. Does this make me a bad person, or did I just do a bad thing?
Wow.
Yeah.
First of all, I want to say, what kind of friends wait until you're at a 50 to 60 person event to pop off and tell you about a secret that they've known? Like, those are not good friends.
So I've thought about this, and I think that I have two theories here. And my first is they were bored, and it was, not much was happening at the party. And it's like those TikToks where it's the end of your vacation, you're sitting around the dinner table, no one really has anything to say, so you decide to go, who does everyone trust here the least? Just to stir up drama. I feel like, they were just itching to,
Oh, they wanted to start something.
Have a little bit of a mishap at that party. Or number two, I'm also thinking that one of those friends may have feelings for the girl who got cheated on and is trying to be the knight in shining armor. Tell her,
I'll tell you the truth.
Mm-hmm, yeah. I'll tell you the truth. Maybe had a little bit of like liquid courage
I'm
in
sure
the situation.
They all did, yeah.
Mm-hmm. And then, turn this whole situation around. But
yeah, well, also the fact that the girl came trying to fight the other girl.
It always is like that.
I know, but it's her ex-friend. So she doesn't really owe you anything. I know in that situation, though, you're obviously going to be like immediately angry, jealous, embarrassed. If there's that many people around seeing what's happening, your instinct is just going to be like, you're so freaking mad at this other girl. But I'm sure he ended up getting what he deserved too. Because,
oh, absolutely. Yeah. You can't let that go.
I do wish in the moment it would have been like, you are trash to the guy. Because it was like, clearly he owed her not the ex-friend. They weren't even friends anymore, but.
Exactly. I need to know if they're still together or not. You know?
They better not. At their 50, 60 to people
You
saw.
mean you never.
I know.
You never know.
This girl was coming for her. They were holding her back.
Oh,
gosh.
gosh, that's crazy. I wish I could have seen it.
Oh, that's a good one. That kind of leads us to our last shady story. This one is short, sweet, and to the point, but we just thought it was so funny. So this one goes, at my dad's fifth wedding, my mom was his second wife. I started the speech with, "Welcome back, everyone. I wonder if this place has a punch card for my dad," because this was his third time using the same venue.
I got to give that girl props because she said what I could never. That's the exact kind of line I would say to my friends behind closed doors. Oh, I'm going to say this and that. They did it. And that is hilarious. I'm sure the dad probably didn't think it was so funny. I'm curious how the audience reacted in that situation.
I'm sure at that point they've probably been to a few of his other ones and also agree. But third time at the same place, I feel like that's just bad luck.
You know, or a good thing. Third time's the charm maybe for this one.
Well, it didn't work with his third wife. So I don't know if he has that third time's a charm thing going for him, but maybe.
We'll see. If there's a sixth wedding, let us know.
Yeah, we need another story if there ends up being another wedding or anything. But that concludes this episode. And we did kind of skip over one of our segments that we normally want to do, which is like, what in the F? And last week we did it without saying it, but we kind of did like what in the fireworks. We talked about that. But we want to kind of skip it this week because we are getting ready to go to Lollapalooza. So we want to talk about the festival in the next episode. So we're going to skip it this week. We're really hoping that we can do a episode from Lollapalooza and talk about who we want to see, who we've already seen, what we thought. But we also want some recommendations for new artists that maybe we haven't heard of. We really love going to festivals and finding like smaller artists that we haven't heard of, seeing them on small stages, and then watching them get to big stages the next year when we go, because inevitably we go every year. We'll be there. So yeah, if you have any recommendation on that, and then like I said, in the description, if you want to submit your own shady story, there will be a link to the Google form where you can anonymously submit your story. And that is all for this episode, and we will see you in the next one.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Con las tapas nuevas quiero pisar el barro. No tengo remedio para controlar el tarro. Mátame si fallo adrede, ese mi sicario. El ajedrez soy el peón que protege el escenario. Por mucho que caigan bombas siempre quedarán de un barrio. Necesito un diario para las veces que sonrío. Una manta para el frío y un abrazo de los míos.